Welcome to the Market Snapshot. This is Dan French with Nova Home Loans, and I'm here today with Chakits Krulsawat from Simply Vegas. How's your day going today, Chuck?
My day's going excellent. Thanks for having me in today.
I appreciate you guys tuning into our show. This is a pleasure educating the Las Vegas community with financing and real estate. How do you feel about that? Don't you feel it's a great thing? It's a pleasure, isn't it?
Of course, and that's why I got into this business, because when I first had an agent, you know, he did educate me, but I felt like I should have knew a little bit more about the process of purchasing a home.
Good, man. Hey, how did you get into real estate? We never really talked to our audience about that.
Do you really want to know how I got into real estate?
I want to know how you got here, man.
Well, I actually came here from Hawaii. I actually rode a moped all the way to Vegas.
What?
Nah, I'm just kidding, bro. I didn't ride a moped.
How did you get here, man? How did you get into real estate?
Well, that's funny that you asked, because around 2006 and 2007, during the hype of the boom, you know, this is when a lot of these shows were going on. You know, like those flip rehab properties?
Right.
I guess you could say I was one of those wannabe real estate investors, but I knew that real estate was, you know, a vehicle to financial wealth, and I wanted to get into it. But around 2008, you know, I bought my first property. Then from there, you know, working with that agent, the agent was like, hey, why don't you get into real estate? And that's how I got into real estate.
Oh.
And so let me ask you this. It's not always about me. How'd you get into financing?
Oh, how'd I get into financing? That's funny. You know what? I've never really talked about it. I came from California about 12 years ago. And when I got here, I started working as a collection. It was a supervisor. And what they did is, you know, they put me on staff. And I really didn't like it. I was out here for about a year. And, you know, it was really not my thing. And then, funny, I went to a wedding. And in the wedding, I had a gentleman that approached me. It was a wedding I didn't even really want to go to. It was just kind of, you know, something I was like, hey, I'll just go and just have fun. And so this guy comes up to me and he's like, hey, I'm a loan officer and I'm doing well. Why don't you check it out? You know, and I was going to college at the time. So I was like, you know what, I guess I'll do that. You know, I'll take a look at it, you know, and I was thinking about, hey, I'm going to buy a house myself. And I'm thinking it might be a good education to see what's involved and what my payment and things like that would be. So, you know, I went down there and, you know, I really didn't know what to expect, but I really found my passion. You know, I think it's a privilege doing what I'm doing because it's something I really like to do and I love it, you know, and I like helping people. So I think it's really something that has really benefited, you know, myself. I pretty much have gotten to the point where, you know, I'm happy with where my life is going. I'm happy with what I do. And, you know, it's a privilege, like I said, to really help people. So
it sounds like you owe them a gift or something like that, don't you?
Yeah, I've already given the gentleman a gift. He's taken care of. I just told him, you know, thank you, and dinner for two. It always helps out, right?
Oh, of course.
Guys, and also we have some events going on, Chuck. What's going on with the Monte Carlo? Is that related to basketball? What is that, Chuck?
Well, here's the thing. There's a company by the name of AEG has actually collaborated with the MGM Resort International. And this has actually been in the makings for the past 10 years and actually came to fruition here. And May of 2014, they actually broke ground. The crazy thing about this is that this arena actually costs $375 million.
Wow, that's a lot.
And check this out.
Real quick, where's that money coming from?
It's all private funding.
Private funding.
Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing.
Like, how can you raise that kind of money?
Well, and it's going to bring a lot of people here too, right? I mean,
of course. Now, here's the thing. This arena is set to open during the springtime of 2016. And it's actually located on the west side of the Strip between New York, and Monte Carlo.
Wow.
Now, it's going to hold over 20,000 people, and it's going to host events like boxing, you know, UFC, sporting events, major headlines, entertainments, and award shows as well. Now, here's the thing. You're probably asking, why is this important and why are we talking about this? Well, it affects a lot of people out here in Vegas from the macro and the micro level. You know, about 39 million people visit Las Vegas each year, okay? Now, based upon this arena that's coming, it's going to add additional 10 more million people. What that means to you is that means it's going to be more jobs. We are in the hospitality industry.
Yeah.
So the more jobs that we have, the more schools that are going to be built for taxes, okay, roads and, you know, projects. And what happens is people spend more money. So the more money that people spend, people are going to want to start living here, and that's how people are going to buy more houses.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing. You know, it's always good when you have opportunity for our community. It's hopefully going to benefit and have growth in our community.
Yeah, economics 101.
We also have something else going on this week, ASD market.
What is
I'll
that?
give you $50 if you can figure out what that is.
Is it like ADD?
No, totally off. What this is, it's a destination, a wholesale buying event for department stores to convenience stores. And what's crazy about this is held twice annually, and it's going to start March 1st to the 4th. Guess how many people are supposed to attend this over that 3-day period?
I'm going to say about 20,000 people.
No, we're talking 46,000 plus. So this is at the Las Vegas Convention Center, and I think this is going to bring a lot of people here too as well. I think it's a big event that's going on, so you guys might want to take a look at that. Again, it's great. Nice things going on here in Vegas. And Chakits, it's time for the market rundown. Here's what we got today. We got housing market statistics, interest rate trending, changes to the good faith estimate. We have a first-time homebuyer versus investor. Chuck, you're going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the benefits of becoming a homeowner. And we're going to wrap up this show on the real story on condos. I think it's going to be a great show. You guys, hopefully, you'll enjoy it as much as we do. And guys, if you want a free mortgage assessment or if you have any questions regarding the show, you can always call in studio at 257-5396. You can schedule an appointment outside of studio at 781-NOVA. That's 6682. Or if you want to ask me a question through Twitter, you can tweet me at 781-NOVA. And guys, we also have a website I want you to take a look at. It's danfrenchnova.com. And Chuck, we put together a series of educational videos. What is that?
It's a video show on YouTube. It's actually a channel, I'm sorry, and it's called Take Notes.
Uh-huh.
And it's about educating the public on buying and selling real estate all the way to financing. So there's a lot of details there.
Yeah, and I think, going into that, I think as we put these videos out, I think people are going to start to really get a pretty good idea about where things are at as far as what they can get into and what they can't get into. Maybe some things that they have questions on, those will be answered, correct?
That is correct.
We're also going to provide a free appraisal and inspection if you get a loan from us, or if you get a house through Chakits, we're going to give a free home inspection and a free appraisal. Also, the next caller into the show with any questions, we're going to give away lunch for two to Sammy's Pizza. We had quite a few appointments last week. And I want you guys to call in studio today. Give us some ideas about what you guys have questions on, and we'll love to answer those questions. What's going on in the housing market right now, Chuck?
Well, since from last week, we still are where we were from last week. Nothing's really going on, and we only sold about 700 homes since last week. And guys, why this is so important here is because that if you're in the market today, this is going to play a big role. I mean, we had a client last week that Dan was able to get approved. His situation at this time, he can't purchase a home because he's got a lease in place. Mm-hmm. Now, his lease is about 6 months out, but now that he has an approval, we're going out, we're looking at short sales. Now, he's got the best both worlds because in today's market, a lot of buyers are not buying short sales because buyers want to move into a home right away.
Right.
So what's happening is we're going to be going out, we're going to be submitting offers on short sales, and we're going to incubate that. Okay. Now, as time progresses, we're going to start looking at REOs and private sales. So it's first come, first serve. And if he's able to close on a short sale, typically in today's market, you're getting about a 10% price reduction.
Well, that's good. I like that. So let's go ahead and talk about where rates ended. Guys, mortgage bonds finished the week unchanged, which kept rates in check. Every week it's volatile, guys. I've been saying this. You go back 3 weeks and, we lost 1/8 of a point. 3 weeks ago, we lost another 1/8 of a point the following week. And then this last week, it was really unchanged as far as pricing. It stayed the same. So rates were initially negative Tuesday morning in response to Fed Chair Yellen's comments in Congress. And Yellen indicated a rate hike, which really put a frenzy in the market or in the economy. But what happened is we had a weekless claims unemployment that came in higher than expected. And what it did is it kept rates in check. Now, you guys realize the employment report provides it's a great indication of the economy and the probability of really where things are headed. And it really gives us as loan officers a good indication of where rates are going. So at the end of it all, we're going to also talk about, if you guys have not looked at the idea of refinancing your home, me talking about rates and letting you know, hey, the trend is unchanged this week. but they're still low. They're still historically low. And, you know, I've talked about this every week. They haven't been this low since the middle of 2013. You might want to still get an opportunity to see if you can refinance your home. You guys have that ability here. It's an option to you, and you'll save some money in most cases. If you're in the high 4s, low 5s, you're going to save some money. I really, strongly urge you guys to at least give us a call. Again, you can call us outside studio at 781-6682. That's 781-NOVA. And you can schedule a free consultation with me. We booked, like I said, quite a bit of appointments last week, and we're looking forward to meeting with you guys here this next week. I also want to talk about, Chakits, I want to talk about what is the key points when getting a loan. And I discussed this a little bit last week. I want to talk about this again so everybody understands, hey, even if I'm not your loan officer, you know, not everybody wants to work with somebody. Sometimes things just don't work out. Personalities have got to fit. But I do want to tell you what you should look for when you're looking for a loan officer to work with. And it's very important also getting into a loan. So when you start the process, you want to look at, well, you know, I'm looking for a company that's going to give me the best interest rate or a good interest rate that will help me start the process. And that's probably the most important thing. Why that's important is because, one, it's going to dictate your payment. The other thing it's going to do is going to dictate how much you're approved for, because if your payment's higher, then guess what? You can approve for less. So that's a very, very big indication about how much you can approve for. The next thing is you want to look at what that company is charging you. Now, if that company is charging you fees and things that you think are, you know, maybe a little bit high, it's always your option to go and look at another company and what they charge. And then the third thing you got to look at is service. You know, your service is very important. You know, you want to have a company that provides that communication, that gives you the efficiency for closing, and it gives you the options that you're looking for and is a resource for you throughout the loan process. You know, if you're going to go look for a good loan officer, you have to have a loan officer that listens to your needs, has constant communication with you, and really is giving you updates throughout the loan process. And, you know, I pride myself on that. Again, I wanted to let you know it's something that you really have to look at if you want to become or get into a position to work with somebody that's good as a good loan officer. And that's really getting started to getting into a loan and getting into the loan process.
And that's very important, because while you're in the transaction, if something comes up, it needs to be addressed right away, because remember, you guys have a timeline when you got to close by.
Yeah, and here's the thing, guys. I mean, listen, I have competitors out there, and I've talked to other people that have come into my office for second opinions. Maybe somebody that just, hey, they went out and got a loan or tried to get a loan 6-8 months ago, and now they're talking to me. And from what I hear, it really sounds like that most of my competitors are making home financing harder than it is, you know, harder than it should be. You know, they present it like it's a difficult process. And, you know, a lot of times if I see a good faith estimate, not every time, but a lot of times I see there's miscellaneous fees and things that's in there that, you know, I'm like, look, why are they charging this stuff to you? And, you know, my thing is this. It's not as hard as you think to get into a loan. You know, it's really it's a more of a streamlined process than you think. And I'm really out there to try to help you save money. You know, I'm looking for avenues or ways that my company or myself can help you get the loan, because you know what? You know other people out there. You know friends and family. And if you have somebody that wants to get a loan, guess what? My name's going to be the first thing you think of. I got a Twitter question coming in. I got one from, his name is Jonas. I have a problem getting answers from my current loan officer if I'm approved. Should I try someone else? Jonas, I think that's a question that's up to you. Sometimes loan officers need a bit of time for them to approve you for a loan. Sometimes, you know, they have things going on, but they're in the process of doing it. And, you know, if they have a sense of if they don't have a sense of urgency to get back to you, sometimes you might want to take a second opinion and look at, hey, maybe I'm going to try somebody else and see if they can give me the service that's needed. If you ever wanted to think about trying to reach out to me, if, say, this loan officer doesn't work out, give me a call. Again, you can reach me outside studio at 702-781-6682. That's 781-NOVA. You can also call in studio if you have any questions at 257-5396. Again, I'll schedule a free consultation for you. We'll sit down. We'll put a game plan and a blueprint together as far as how quick we can get you into a loan.
And keep in mind, guys, this is very important with the communication with your lender, also with your agent as well. Because here's the thing. Once you guys are in the deal and you got 45 days to close a deal, you need to make sure that you close it on time. And if your agent or if your lender's not answering the calls, then we're going to have an issue here.
We got a call online here. It's Colleen.
Hello.
Colleen, you there?
Yes.
Hey, Colleen, how you doing today?
Good. How about yourself?
Good. Thank you for calling into the Market Snapshot. How can I help you?
Well, I was just looking around the valley for a new small single-story home that's not in a retirement community.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like the trend is to build small two-story homes. So my question is, are there any upcoming developments that would offer smaller single-story homes?
Chuck, do you got that?
What I've noticed, a lot of these builders now, the reason why they're building, 2 stories is because of the land, and they can get more money and squeeze it that way. And also, this is one of those type of cities where a lot of people don't really, communicate with their neighbors. They go to work, come back, and it's about living in their home and living in their space. So it's more space, but they're building up versus down. And keep in mind, the price per square foot, it's going to cost you more money on a single story versus a 2-story. But are the single stories out there? Yes, they are. It's just you got to get with the right agent, and we can find them.
Oh, okay.
Are you looking for financing? Or are you just looking around? Are you looking for how are you going to make an offer on this property? Or are you thinking about it?
Oh, I'm just thinking about it.
Just thinking about it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you have further questions or you want to schedule a free consultation with Chakits to sit down and talk with him, you can always reach out to us at 781-6682. That's 781-NOVA. Chakits will sit down with a 30-minute consultation and let you know your options.
And I do want to mention that really quickly, that before we get the process started, it's always best to see what you're qualified for, so that way we can start your home search in the right direction.
Hey, Colleen, real quick, I just want to let you know you're our first caller, so guess what? You're going to get a lunch for 2 to Sammy's Pizza. You want to do that?
Yeah, that sounds very nice.
Perfect. We're going to have our producer take your information down, and we're going to provide that to you at the end of the show, okay?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. And thank you. Everything was very helpful.
All right, Colleen. Well, thank you for calling into the show.
Okay, thank you.
I want to thank Colleen for calling into the show, and we'll move on forward here. We're also going to talk today about the good faith estimate, okay? And with the good faith estimate, you've had problems. Some of these problems that they get with these good faith estimates, sometimes they're hard to read, and I think that's one of the biggest things with things that are out there. Good faith estimates, they've had we've had HUD that's come in, which is Housing of Urban Development. They've come in and try to come up with the best information that they can provide, and really try to give you information that's readable and that gives you the opportunity, that knows what you're getting into as far as a loan goes. And, there's going to be a change to this, and that's one of the things I wanted to bring up, because I think there's a lot of confusion with it still, and I think there's some uncertainty. The current good faith estimate, what the purpose of this is it provides basic information on your loan, which provides an estimate of the real costs that you're being charged for the loan, okay? This is something that's not concrete, but it does provide basic information, and it puts people in place, consumers like yourself, to become smarter home buyers with financing options. Allows borrowers to really go to the opportunity to compare, companies and fees and things. And I'm going to tell you guys, it's been great, because I think there has been improvement in this. They've improved it quite a bit. And as your loan officer, I'm supposed to provide that good faith estimate within 3 business days of us. I'm not going to say just coming into contract, but it's really when you get a property and you get all the information that's needed, I'm supposed to provide a good faith estimate. And really that's an estimate of all of your costs. So once that comes in as, say, a contract, and really that's the time to say, okay, that's typically when I get all the pieces of information that's needed. That's when I push forward and I say, okay, now I'm going to provide the good faith estimate and provide all the information that's needed for your loan.
Now, Dan, as far as the good faith estimate, I understand that it's just a good faith. But when you go to close, I mean, how far off are you? Are you guys pretty close with that? Or?
Oh, we're very close. I mean, when you understand what the cost will be on the loan, and you really can't lock in your rate at the time, so that could change a little bit on your payment. Title fees obviously come in, and that could change a little bit. But from our standpoint, I mean, I'm pretty good and I'm pretty accurate on what they come in with, and they're not too far off. So it's really a good thing. The other thing that the form that coincides with the good faith estimate is called the Truth in Lending form. Now, the Truth in Lending disclosure provides information on the true cost of your credit. Okay, that'll be the APR, your total finance charges. It's the total amount, and then also including your total amount of payments. And that's a great indication of really what you're being charged for on the loan itself.
So on a good faith estimate, as a consumer, what are the main things that I should be looking for?
I think as a consumer, you got to really look at the APR, because it's going to dictate what fees are coming from each company. If they have a higher APR, obviously they're charging you higher fees.
Okay, and that's all going to be broken down as far as what the fees are, right?
Yeah, when you sit down with me and we talk and go over it, it's going to be broken down as far as what you're being charged for and everything in pertaining to your loan. So important facts on the good faith estimate is that on August 1st is when these changes are going to come into play, and what that's going to do. Again, it's been a lot of things that they're just constantly trying to improve the market and constantly trying to improve the process of getting a loan and making it a little bit more understanding to consumers out there. So they're going to replace the good faith estimate with what's called a loan estimate. Okay, and the abbreviation for that is LE. Okay, this will replace, not only is it going to replace the good faith estimate, but it's also going to replace the truth in lending disclosure. Okay, this is going to improve consumers' understanding and promoting what the compliance is really behind everything, as far as getting into a loan. I think it's going to be great for everyone. It's going to make things easier. Financing options are going to be more understood. And guess what? If I have to explain something, I think it's going to be a little easier for me to explain when they get that on paper and they understand it on paper. Chuck, I had a client come in of mine. Her name was Janelle, actually, and this is one of the reasons why I brought this up is, she came in and she sat down and, she's in contract and she says, hey, I want a breakdown of what the fees are. So I gave her a good faith estimate. And, I told her, I said, hey, Janelle, do you know everything about the good faith estimate? She's like, yeah, I know everything. I go, so you know your costs, you know my fees, you know what the title fees are. And she's like, yeah, I know everything. And little did I know, she gets into processing and she tells my processing staff, she's like, I'm a little bit uncertain about some of the things that's going on in this good faith estimate. And I said, Janelle, I'm here to help you. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to talk to me about it. I took Janelle back into my office. We sat there for about an hour roughly. Okay. And I went over all the information with her again. And she's like, look, sometimes it took me a little bit longer to understand things. And I said, Janelle, it's one of those things that it's my job and my duty to try to help you understand everything that you're getting into the loan. And that's where that hand-holding process comes in. If Janelle was uncertain about something, if anybody ever gets into a loan with me, even if you're in a loan with me right now, or if you're into contract with me right now, if you don't understand something, call my phone or get a hold of me. I'm always available. I'm never too busy, guys. And then the other thing we have is we have a new form for the HUD-1, but I'm going to get on into that. A HUD-1 statement is really a form used by the settlement agent to itemize all charges imposed upon a borrower. Now, this is pretty much the final good faith estimate and truth in lending form that we currently have. What do you know about the HUD? I know you've had clients that have had questions when you go to title signings, right?
Yeah, typically what happens is when we're about to close, we're a couple days out, the title company will send over the HUD, and I'll analyze and look over the numbers, and if I have any problems or issues with that, I'll contact the title company to address the issues at that time to correct the numbers, because we want to make sure that the consumers are paying what is needed to be paid based upon the contract between seller and buyer. Mm-hmm. Also, when there's problems, like a case study that we had a problem together as far as on the lending side. Right. I had, the buyers contact you to figure out the problem so that way we can get it resolved and get it closed on time.
Yeah, and I go to almost all my signings. I'm not going to say I'm perfect, but I do go to most of my signings, and I'm going to tell you that, the form that you look at with that HUD-1, it's going to be replaced as well. It's going to be replaced with what's called a closing disclosure. And pretty much it's replacing the HUD-1 that we have now, and it's really the final estimate and final truth in lending disclosure that we currently have now, and it's going to be put in place also on August 1st. And the difference is it's going to require you to, as a consumer, it's going to give you 3 days before it actually goes to title for you to review the final costs of your loan. So the reason why it's important is because he's going to have the ability to talk to his clients and let them know, hey, I have to be able to, lose 3 days on that time frame on closing. So when it does go to that point, he's going to have to account for those 3 days to still meet the close of escrow. And it's very important to meet the close of escrow.
And keep in mind, like if you're under contract with the short sale, and we know that the short sale, the lender is going to have to close within 48 hours with the approval, you're already losing 3 days. Now you just lost 5 days. So keep in mind, the time of close of escrow is very important. So we need to close this file on time.
Yeah, this should make everybody's life easier, Chuck. And I'm telling you right now, I think everybody out there is trying to make things a little bit easier. a little bit more concrete for people that are trying to get into a loan. And I think you really got to listen to this show, because we're going to keep constantly monitoring how this is going to unfold and how these things and these changes are going to go into effect on August 1st. Again, if you guys want a free mortgage assessment, we're going to be back right here. We're going to cut the break. We have a whole lot of show left, and I look forward to answering any questions you have. Again, call us in studio at 702-257-5396. It's Dan French. Welcome back to the Market Snapshot. It's Dan French here with Nova Home Loans. And real quick, guys, I wanted to let you guys know, if you want a free mortgage assessment, or if you have any questions regarding the show, please call in studio today again at 257-5396. Schedule a free consultation with me at 781-NOVA. That's 6682. Or if you want to ask me a question on Twitter, you can tweet me at 781-NOVA. I put together a website, danfrenchnova.com. And Chuck, we talked about this earlier in the show. What are these educational videos we're putting together online here?
It's called Take Notes, and it's an educational video. It's about a minute to 2 minutes long, and it has to do with the real estate industry. So it's just a library of stuff.
Yeah, and I think everybody out there that has any uncertainties, they're listening to us, they're getting to understand us and who we are on the show, go look at that stuff, because I'm telling you, it's going to educate you further. Real quick, I want to talk to you today also about... Tell me your approach on this, Chakits. If you have a first-time home buyer and they come into you versus somebody that's an investor, you always change your approach as a real estate agent, correct?
Yeah, that's correct, because this is like one of the biggest purchases that they're ever going to make in their lives. And, when we sit down with them, it's a free consultation too as well. Now, we find out the reason why they want to buy and what their time frame is when they want to buy. And then that plays a big role, so that way we can start pointing these clients in the right direction as far as submitting offers and getting properly done.
If you're a first-time home buyer out there, I mean, you come in, you look, and you talk to a real estate agent, you're a little green because, you got the idea of kind of where you want to be and what you want to do, and maybe you're even thinking about how much you want to buy. But the process of it is a little scary,
And keep in mind, once we sit down with the consultation, we educate you guys what's going on with the market trends, as far as how a real estate transaction works, because there's so many people involved in the real estate transaction, from your lender, the escrow officer, on the listing side, the appraiser, and also the home inspection. And as we go through this transaction, I'm going to hold your hand from beginning to ending.
What do you look at as far as the approach for an investor?
Well, it really depends of what kind of investor you are. You have some guys that have 1 or 2 properties.
Right.
You have some guys that have 3. You have some guys that have like 16 properties. So it just really depends on their situation and what is it that they're going to looking to do in their near future, as far as buying a home as an investment for 3 to 5 years, or are they looking to build a real estate portfolio?
Yeah.
Now, talking about that, I have a case study here, which is I have a client from California. He had about $150,000 cash. And he wanted to buy, a fourplex. And I told him that, hey, instead of paying cash for this property, let's go ahead and finance it, because I can show you how to leverage your money and get a higher ROI. And what an ROI stands for.
Yeah, most of our audience are going to know what an ROI is. What is that?
It stands for return on investment. Basically, whatever you buy into, or any type of property or investment deal, an investor always looks at how much money they're putting out of pocket and how fast is that money returning to them. Okay?
Yeah, I think when you have an investor, they know they have the options. They know they have things where, it's kind of in their court. When a first-time home buyer, they're just happy to get into a loan.
That's
or into
correct.
a property.
But we want to put these first-time home buyers in the right home. We don't just want to throw them into any single deal, because here's the thing: if they looking to move in the next 4 or 5 years, we want to make sure that they're getting a good deal enough where if they can't sell the home and make that profit at that time, at least they can rent out that property and make a few $100s a month on cash flow.
So if I'm an investor out there, and let's say I own 5-6 properties, and I'm thinking about getting a fourplex or maybe something that's going to be a high return on my investment. Is there a different approach that you talk to them about? Or
Yeah,
take them on?
The first thing that we do is we take a look at their portfolio. Some of the stuff may yield a higher return than others. Some may be at 14, some may be at 16. There's some that we may have to sell and pluck off and yield a higher return.
Right. Okay. Guys, I got a question again. It's coming in from George here. And the question I have is, I'm a first-time home buyer, and I had a situation that was turned down by my lender because they could not source money coming in from my relative for the down payment. Can you explain this? Well, George, it sounds to me like they turned you down because of a sourcing gift fund issue. That is very important. When it goes into underwriting, they're constantly looking at that they can source that properly. The donor's a sourceable person that they can look at and really get the information that's needed from whatever account that those funds are coming from. Now, what happens is that if they look and they can't find it or they can't source it properly, it looks like money laundering to a bank. It's, I'm not saying that it is, but what it could be is that it's kind of a red flag to an underwriter, and they really won't push forward from that point because they can't source that money, properly. And the investors and guidelines, they really don't want to, fund that loan.
And this is why it's so important that you do your homework all up front and have a lender that understands this to get all this out of the way. It's kind of like doing your homework.
Yeah. Well, and here's what I want to say about that too. I mean, not everybody is going to have an issue like that, but if you have a loan officer that comes in and tells you the directions of how to sign that, get the donor that's in place that's going to give you those gift funds, that's very important. That's important because it's going to really set the tone for your loan. And then when it does get to underwriting, by having that thing up front or having that taken care of up front, you're not going to have those issues on the 10th hour. I want to also talk about benefits of becoming a homeowner, and I say this because every week we talk about where rates are at. Again, it's a perfect storm, guys. Rates are so low. They've been low. They haven't been this low since the middle of 2013. And if you're a renter out there and you think, well, do I want to pay rent? Do I want to, or do I want to keep paying somebody else's mortgage? I'm hoping you're thinking I want to have a mortgage and pay my own mortgage. And there's numerous reasons for that. In most cases, and still to this day, in most situations, it's still cheaper to have a mortgage and pay a mortgage than it is to rent. The problem, I think, with most renters is they think that it's impossible to buy a home. They think that there's a lot of process, and that I think a lot of them get discouraged, like, hey, I don't even want to sit down because if I get denied, it's embarrassing or it's something I don't want to deal with. But you know what, guys? Listen, I told you at Nova Home Loans, free credit services. I will really put that game plan together, and I'll put you in a position to buy a home. And I'm going to tell you right now, knowing where you're at is more important than being turned away or being denied or saying that you can't get a home at this point. Because like I said, if you're not going to be there for 6 to 8 months, it's 6 to 8 months, but we have that game plan. We know where you're at. We know where your payment needs to be. We know what your goals are. That's what I do. I put it together. And
plus, we don't want you guys to wait until you guys are actually ready to buy a home because the market is down or, and when you go out and you're ready to buy a home, you go out and get a loan and you find out, hey, I got to wait an additional 6 months. And it may not be a perfect time to buy at that time. That's why it's better to get it done now.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I had a person that came in on Friday, okay? She comes in. Her and her spouse, I guess, was arguing at the fact that should I even get in there? Should I even go down there? I mean, I don't want to deal with it. And, they went back and forth. And finally, in most cases, like women get their way, she had her husband come down. And they talked to me, and the whole process was, I think she was a little bit uneasy about the whole thing because she didn't know where her credit was at. So we looked at her credit, and behold, she had a passive credit to get a loan, and she's in a position, and she's like, wow, I didn't even know my credit was that high.
Yeah.
She would have not known that if she didn't at least take the initiative to come down and see where things are at. The other thing is, now she's saying, well, if I got my credit score where it's at, what is my down payment? Well, I provided options to her through just what we talked about, the gift fund. I provided options through the grant program, and she's going to proceed. The other thing we went towards as well is she goes, well, I don't know how much of a home I can buy, and I don't know what I'm comfortable with. I said, well, what are you paying in your mortgage now? She said, or not in your mortgage, but in your rent. And I said, well, she's paying $1,400 in her rent. And I said, look, I can approve you for a $200,000 loan right now. Your payment's about $1,250. And if you look at it and you break it down, what you look at is the fact that you can save some money on the interest that you're paying on your mortgage. And that's a huge difference. And she's sitting there thinking, so I'm paying a higher rent payment right now than if I got into a $200,000 loan amount, and then also I'm looking at the mortgage interest write-off.
And guys, the way I want you guys to look at this, based upon this situation, let's just say she did move forward and buy a home for $200,000, and 2 years down the line, she had to move out of state or something. Keep in mind, she still can rent out this property and make $150 a month.
So when she came back, you know, we got her on a game plan. She's actually approved because of the options that I do have. And I think the truth with renters out there is, you know, you've really never looked at the idea of becoming a homeowner because you don't realize the benefits, for one. The other thing is, like I said, is you don't know what's the value or the benefit in getting into a home and having a mortgage versus paying rent. So here's what I look at. You know, in any home that you have with a mortgage, you can always build equity, but you can't build equity in a property that you rent. You know, and I think that's a lot of value to that because, hey, if I'm putting my money towards something, you always got to look at it as a business and what's the return on my dollar. The other thing, again, is the tax deduction. You know, the tax deduction that you get off of the mortgage interest that you pay on every year, you get that as a write-off on a tax deduction. You know, I told you that, you know, when we talked about the $1,250 a month that my client came in on Friday with, well, if you look at it with the tax deduction and all of that, it went from $1,250. Now she's only paying $1,196 if you look at the total amount. And that's just an estimate, but it's a total amount, including with the tax write-off. You also got to look at, you know, a fixed payment. Now, the average rent goes up every single year is about 3%. Okay. But if you have a fixed payment, a fixed mortgage, that's never going up. And you have a constant understanding that you're going to be paying that mortgage consistently. And it's an easy feeling if it's me because I know what I'm expecting.
And keep in mind, if you guys do decide to rent out the property, inflation by 3% each year, that's just more money in your pocket.
And then we talked about it again last week, you know, pride, you know, accomplishment. Chuck, I remember the time I bought my home. I turned that key. I told you last week, you know, I sat in my living room. I'm looking around like, you know what, this is mine. You know, I can do what I want with it.
Yeah.
It's an accomplishment that any single, you know, middle-class person, it's the biggest investment they're going to make. And there's a sense of accomplishment in that. Even if you're an investor, every home that I buy, I go into it with like, great, you know, I got another asset. I'm an investor. I got, you know, properties that I'm working with. And it's a great feeling, you know.
Feels good, doesn't it?
So looking at that, you know, we talked about this last week too, and I wanted to do a segment on condos because I think a lot of people come to me for condos, and you know, they're asking me, well, why is it hard to get financing through condos, and why is it hard for somebody to purchase a condo that maybe needs a little help? Can you talk to me about why the condo situation is difficult?
Yeah, most of these condos will have litigations to it, and the lenders won't finance it. And also, what I'm starting to see within the marketplace, a lot of investors are not buying these condos because the HOA fees are just too high. And if you rent it out, most of that profit is going towards the HOA.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, guys, when I had a person come in and, you know, they were like, hey, I want to get this loan approved through condo financing. And what I did is I brought them in and I said, let me look at your options. Well, the options for financing is really you're not limited, but you got to go what's pertaining to if it's a conventional loan you're looking to do, you have to go off of what's called a condo certification. Okay, that's going to dictate everything pertaining to that facility. You know, occupancy, how many buyers versus renters. It's going to look at the fact that do you have options for if a property has HOA delinquencies. If it does, you got to address them. And then the biggest thing that kills any financing for condos, which majority of these facilities out here in Las Vegas have, is litigation. That's the number one killer. Now, we have options for primary residence. If you're a primary residence and you're going to occupy it as a primary residence, we can get over the fact of the occupancy situation.
And keep in mind, before we even get into a transaction like this, I'll do all the research just to make sure that we can't even buy the property. Because, again, the last thing that we want to do is put money down on EMD and waste time and knowing that this deal can't close.
Right, and here's the other thing, too. I mean, I had a person come in and they put enough down payment on a condo to bypass. There was a situation where I had a condo HOA delinquencies that when we put that money down, my investor bypassed the fact that there was HOA delinquencies. The only thing that's out there that's really going to affect you is if you have litigation. Now, FHA and VA, which is the other two programs that are big, is the fact that those have got to be approved. And I think there's very, very limited on approvals for FHA or VA. And if they're not approved, it's really not going to help anybody, and we can't get that financed majority of the time. I'm going to say like 9 times out of 10. So.
Also, I do want to mention with these HOAs, there are assessments that could come in the near future. So if you're buying one and the HOAs are 150, but because there's our liens or litigations against the HOA, 2 or 3 months when you close from here on out, it may be $250 a month.
I got a question here from Mark. Question is I tried to buy a condo and was denied through underwriting. Why do you think this occurred? Well, again, it's not my underwriter, so I can't go down there and ask, hey, what was the reason? But for me, it's probably going to be tied to litigation at somewhere. That's usually where they fall out. And as a good loan officer, you recognize that up front, and you really set the expectations up front. I'm not saying that it couldn't happen to anybody, but I'll tell you this. I'm going to do my homework, and it's not going to fall out in underwriting at the last minute. And that's the worst thing you can do to anybody because everybody's affected by that. That's not meeting the close of escrow. Your seller agent, your buyer agent, and the client is all going to be upset because you thought that this was going to go.
And this is where it comes back to having your dream team where, your agent's on point with your lender
right.
and also with the client. So everybody's all on the same page. So that way we're not wasting any time.
And guys, listen, again, if you want to call in studio, you can call in at 257-5396. If you want a free mortgage assessment on your current loan or you have any questions regarding the show, please call us in to studio today. We also can give you a free consultation outside studio at 781-NOVA. That's 6682. We also want to talk about HOA resale package, Chuck. We talked about this last week. I wanted to touch on this just a little bit further because you really wanted to get a little bit more information out there to our audience. What is all that?
Basically, the homeowners association package, by law, the seller must pay for it and provide it to the buyer within 10 calendar days of the offer being accepted. Mm-hmm. Now, the buyer is going to have 5 days once they receive it to read it and review it to make sure that they want the property. Mm-hmm. Now, if they don't like it, they can go ahead and cancel it and receive their EMD back at that time. But it has to be within the 5 days of acceptance.
So if you guys have any HOA resale package questions and something's been issued out there that you don't understand, give us a call in studio, 257-5396. I want to talk about some of the things at Nova Home Loans that really separates my company and myself. Now, I've told you guys a lot about what my service is and how I communicate with my clients, how things come up with making a client understand everything about that loan process. And my goal is to really hold that client's hand and basically put them through from A to Z with no issues. And what I want to tell you is the things that really separate us from Nova Home Loans is you always want to have a lender that has the ability to have underwriting and funding in-house because that really controls. That's a huge part of getting a loan closed, and it really has us in control of getting that loan closed. The other thing is you want to have the ability to assure everybody that's involved that you can meet or beat the close of escrow date. Now, I'm telling you right now, that's not always going to be the case. Majority of the time, though, I will be able to meet or beat the close of escrow date. And I'm telling you, that's a huge deal, guys. We just talked about it. You have people that are in place that help you do that. And when you have staff in a company that puts you in a place to be able to always have that opportunity, nobody's going to have issues. You're not going to have anybody upset. And again, what my purpose and my goal is to try to get that future business from anybody you know. And my name will be the first thing you think of when somebody needs a loan.
And Dan, that's a very big deal because here's the thing. We do loans and transactions with clients all the time where they use major banks and the underwriting is not here in Vegas. And they're on the East Coast time. And remember, dealing with these underwriters there, everything is all in the time frame, and it takes some time. So we want to get this file done on time, and that's very important.
The other thing is, guys, is I want to tell you that we have status online progress updates, and that's very important as well. The communication's a big deal. It's really a big deal within real estate agents, but it's also a big deal with clients. Clients never call me and ask me, hey, where are we at on the loan? They don't go, hey, did the appraisal come back? Hey, are we in processing? When are we going to underwriting? Everything is checked off as a checklist, and it's really a very good process of going from, like I said, the start of your loan to the end of your loan, and I give you Tuesday updates every single Tuesday. The other thing is I'm a 7-day-a-week service. I'm telling you right now, I work every day, guys. I work hard. If you have questions, you can call me Sunday at night. It's no problem. I'm always working. And, that's a good thing because I'm never too busy to answer my phone or return a call. If it is for that reason, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. The other thing I want to tell you guys is we have a free in-house credit services, and I preach this all the time. You know what? It's something that everybody really has an opportunity to see where things are at with credit services. And I'm telling you, we're putting together great plans and great packages for people that maybe, like I said, a year out, a year out, I've had people come back to me and say, hey, you know what? Your services took care of us. They kept us in the loop. They had our progress throughout that whole situation as far as getting you into a position to get approved for a loan. And then a year later, I'm calling a real estate agent. I'm calling the client back and saying, listen, you're ready to go. I think that's a great thing. Also want to talk about what we're giving away free. Guys, we only give free things from this show, exclusively from this show, and I want to go over a list. We went over it last week, and Chuck, I want to give this again. So anybody listening, and they get a consultation through us, that's 781-6682-NOVA, they're going to get a free CMA from you. What is that, Chuck?
It stands for comparable market analysis. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, what we'll do is we'll pull up properties within the subdivision that has sold, that's currently in contingent status, or also in for sale or pending status at that time. So that way we can compare homes to homes to see what we should submit the offer for.
I'm also going to give away a free appraisal. Okay, my appraisals run about $425 to $550. If you call in and get a free consultation with me, I will give that to you for free. Okay, that's a free appraisal. The other thing is Chuck's giving away a free home inspection. Chuck, what is that?
Basically, a home inspection is a third-party company that inspects the property. They cover 5 main things to a home: the foundation, structure, electric, plumbing, and also the AC unit. Anything that are latent defects is basically that's whatever's behind the wall. They can't tell you, but those are the 5 main components to a home. Also,
you're giving away a free first-time homebuyer guide?
Yes, and this guide is really great if you're just getting started. This will actually give you the A, B's, and C's of getting started on buying your first home.
I want to say one thing too about that. We have people out there listening, and maybe you're on the fence. Maybe you're sitting there going, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm listening to the show, and I'm getting some good information about some of the things that's going on out there. But is it really a good time to buy? You hear that there's a ton of properties out there, maybe some uncertainty in the market. Guys, I'm here to tell you again, I think it's a perfect storm from my perspective, because I'm going to tell you, right now you have rates that are low. You have properties to choose from. There's not a huge frenzy, and you're not getting those multiple offers. And I think right now it's more of a buyer's market. It's still a seller's market, but it's more of a buyer's market. Chuck, is right now a good time to buy? And if you're out there listening to the show, maybe we can answer some of those questions. You can call in at 257-5396. Is it a good time to buy?
It's always a good time to buy, and it's always a good time to sell. It really just depends on the situation that you're currently in. Like right now, Dan, you already know that I'm under contract right now, and I'm looking to buy an investment property. There's not that many out there, but there are a few low-hanging fruits out there. So it really just depends on your situation.
Yeah, and I think if you guys are wanting more information, and let's say you want to get more education, I mean, Chakits is always willing and able to sit down with you guys and educate you on maybe what process you guys want to take, where you guys want to be. And moving forward on that, I want to talk also about what is the situation that we have with the Cadence situation. Have you heard any more information on the Cadence project?
Yeah, they actually built about, I would say about 6 model homes at this time, but everything's all been broken ground. I mean, they're starting to build rapidly. A lot of people are coming in and starting putting money down on the lot, so it's starting to take place.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed around that community, the growth is starting to take place, and it's coming back. And the old Henderson.
Yeah, I mean listen, I think it's great. I think again, I feel like everywhere in Vegas, there's things that are just being created, and you just don't know about it. And all of a sudden, it just ops up, and you're like, wow, I didn't even know that even occurred.
Well, that's why you need to tune into the show.
Yeah, you got to get the information. But also, we talked about going from the Cadence project development. Let's talk about HOA foreclosures. Have you heard any news about that, or anything that's come up about that?
No, we are still where we're at right now. We're waiting for this litigation to pass through, and we're going to see what the banks are going to do. But my thing about it is what's probably going to happen here is that the banks are going to force the buyers to include the HOA within the escrow.
So, guys, here you go again. All right, free things from us. Free CMA from Chakits. You're going to get a free appraisal. You're going to get a free home inspection. My free credit services. It's a free service, guys. Take advantage of this. Free time home buyer guide. If you guys want a free mortgage assessment, or you have any questions, maybe you're in loan right now and you just want a second opinion. Maybe you want to call me to see if it's even a good thing to refinance or not. Listen, I had a guy that came in and he said, hey, I want to refinance my home. And we looked at the numbers, and it just didn't make sense. So not everybody out there is going to have the ability to refinance and for it to make sense. But if you haven't reviewed your options, give me a call, because I think at some point, if rates continue to where they go, they've been volatile, but they've had some consistency of going up over the past weeks. Give us a call in studio. You can call us in studio at 257-5396 if you want a free consultation with me. I would love to answer any questions you have, sit down and talk with you. You can reach me at 781-NOVA, that's 6682. And, Chakits, do you have anything else to say about anything going on today?
Yeah, if you guys are seriously thinking about buying a home, the first thing to do is actually sit down with me. It's a free consultation. At that point, we'll get you over to Dan to see exactly how much you qualify for, so that way we can set you up in the right search and start pointing you guys in the right direction. Remember, guys, education is key here.
Yeah, we want to educate everybody. Guys, please tune into our next show next week. We have the same time, 12 to 1. I want to say thank you for everybody out there listening to our show. You guys are the ones that make this show. And again, we're going to give away a lunch for two to Sammy's Pizza. We got a lot of free things we're going to give away next week. And I just want to say this is Dan French from Nova Home Loans. I'm here with Chakits from Simply Vegas, and we want to say thank you for your listenership.